So we go for the second session of today, Unleashing the Power of the Pool. We had a few facts already, which we're introducing this second panel and second session. And I'm happy to welcome you here in Berlin, Ylva Svensson, Long Lee, John Knapman, and Will Golden Lennox. And we'll start with the big pool, which has been already very successful. And you all probably know the sentence is about the World Pool. So let's welcome Long Lee, Head of Wagering Product Strategy at the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and as well as John Knapman, later on Chief Commercial Officer at the UK Tote Group. So first of all, John Lee, welcome very much here in Berlin. And I take my chance while you're preparing yourself for the presentation to introduce you a little more. So while you settle yourself here, a few key facts about you. John has been 15 years of experience in international markets, having been an equity sales trader at a number of leading institutions, and long joined the Hong Kong Jockey Club as head of the wagering product strategy last year, responsible for horse racing and Mark VI lottery wagering product marketing, development and data analyst, so you don't get bored, right? And so Long has spent over 20 years in the financial industry. He pioneered the launch of an award-winning mobile app for multiple investment banks and private wealth management institutions to interact and trade structured products. The most important fact, you are a horse racing fan as well as John, and that's why we listen very carefully. Welcome in Berlin once again.
Thank you, Thorsten, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure here today in Berlin, Germany, to share a few words about Whirlpool, and hello everyone online. So let's warm up a little bit review what is Whirlpool, right? Whirlpool was created to bring the world's finest racers, horses, jockeys, and trainers to a global audience all year round, and to host internationally commingled pools on these races. Whirlpool is a strategy. It's a strategy that combines liquidity and then attracts further liquidity, that creates access, legitimate access to top races around the globe to combat illegal betting. It also encourages exchange of racing data, and last but not least, it enables to improve the sustainability and the quality of horse racing. I want you to remember all these points because I will reinforce them and come back to them in the later part of the presentation. So what we have achieved since 2018-19, the numbers speak for themselves. More than 10-fold increase in Whirlpool races, more than 10 times increase in turnover from a little bit over 100 million to almost 1.5 billion USD last year. We covered 6 IFHA top 100 Group 1 races when we started. Now every year we cover pretty much at least half of them. And as a quick reminder, I think in 2 weeks there will be another milestone around the corner when Hong Kong Horse Revere Kayak Rising goes to climb the Everest. We also create other products in Whirlpool, such as Moments of the Day, Moments of the Year, Whirlpool Ambassador, Whirlpool Jockeys Championship, which the winner can donate £50,000 to a charity of their choice to demonstrate what the Whirlpool can do in addition to wagering. It is also crucial and thankful to have the support and approval of the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to achieve all these results. And obviously, the support from all the partners across the globe. So it has been a great journey so far. Are we satisfied? Are we growing globally? Are we top gaming choice of the new generation? Are we absolutely sure that we'll be relevant in 10, 20 years? You know the answer. You know my answer. But let's work together to ensure that next time we meet, next time I talk, we can say yes to all the answers to the questions. I'm going to illustrate sample journey of our top customers in Hong Kong. I mentioned data, and I'm going to show you roughly how they consume data in Hong Kong. So they open our apps, look at the race card with the odds, 20 of them, then just go straight to the best sleep. Fine, I mean, happy for me. The rest look into the details of a horse profile. 40% of them watch the last race we play. The rest go look at the morning workout calendar, horse trotting videos in the morning, and then go to speed map, draw statistics, jockey statistics, trainer statistics, and so on and so forth. We also have a horse selector that helps customers to filter and to reach the conclusion before they go to the best sleep. That's for local Hong Kong racing. What happened when they want to participate in simulcast racing? Unfortunately, the journey is not the same. Race we play, we know it's available, but it's not standard information exchange. It's not part of the standard information we exchange with our track operators, right? Not to mention, not all of the commentary are in English, let alone Cantonese. How to expect a betting uncle to understand a caller speaking in French about race, right? It's difficult. A morning workout, I understand not every jurisdiction conduct morning workout like Hong Kong, but mostly is not there. Draw statistics, difficult. Jockey statistics, they travel everywhere, unlike Hong Kong, trainers and so on and so forth. So the information is just not the same. There's a gap there. And why does it matter? My team has done the counting, mapping. In Hong Kong, we have about 330 data points for local race, from barrier trials, horse owners, racing operations, and so on and so forth, right? Out of that 330, 61 of them we consider critical. Top customers watch them very frequently. From a professional point of view, we think they're very important. Guess how many of those 61 on average available for simulcast racing? It's not too bad, 61%. You would think, well, only 40% of data are missing. But if we look at the data, there's clear evidence that such gap creates delinquency or shortcomings in terms of wagering propensity and water size. On average, we pull in about 20 million per race locally, simulcast about 25%. So how can we close that gap? And we need to close the gap. One would think along, is this data availability, standardization, a racing specific issue? And I can tell you the answer is no. Thorsten mentioned my previous life I was in finance, so I'm going to borrow one example to illustrate to you what it means when it comes to data standardization and provision. So there's a financial products called American Depository Receipt, ADR. What is an ADR? It's a US bank issued certificate representing shares of a foreign company traded in US dollar on US exchange. Why did they create ADR in the first place? From what I know of from public information, good companies want liquidity. Good listed company want liquidity. Want people invest in their company, right? And by creating ADR, it is a legitimate way for US investors to invest in foreign companies which otherwise would have been very difficult or costly. Do these two reasons sound familiar to what we have discussed earlier in the presentation? Liquidities and access, right? But the investors didn't just wake up one day, and see a foreign company listed in the US and start trading. It took a little bit more homework to achieve the success. Just to cite a few factors, for foreign companies to be listed, they have to obviously trade in US dollars. They have to have same reporting frequency, same accounting standard, as well as same language disclosure in English. So there has, on top of creating a pool, there's some work that to be done to take the most advantage of that pool. I'm going to conclude my presentation by giving you a shocker, and that is providing data is just not enough. I spent the last 8 minutes talking about not enough data, but now I'm telling you providing the data is not enough, and I'll tell you why. So on the left-hand side, you see traditionally until now, paper form, right? Literally PDF printed on paper, reading the form, right? Or race cards on the website. The hardcore fans will search for replays of races on search engine and whatnot, and that's fine, right? But we have to admit that our customers, literally all of us, have less and less time. Not that we have less than 24 hours a day, that won't change. It's just that we have many more choices. We have many more choices in entertainment, in gaming, in video streaming, music streaming. And that's for existing customers. What about the new generations? I've interviewed them for jobs. I've spoken to them. A very frequent feedback, racing is not cool to them. Racing is for their parents, for their grandparents, right? It's not for us. We're Gen Z, we're Gen Alpha, we're Gen Beta. What do you mean put a newspaper in your pocket, right? You gotta be joking. So we need to acknowledge that issue, and at the Hong Kong Jockey Club, since last season, we create a innovative AI product to help customers to gain insight into racing easier than before, and that has been very well received. 9 out of 10 customers who would use it would recommend it to their fans and whatnot. And the screen you look at is real. If you go to Hong Kong one day or for the international race, I can show you how it looks like. But that's just the beginning. That is only the beginning. In the future, we should ride on the success of Whirlpool, on our collaboration to build an AI service agent together. An agent that can summarize news, understand, analyze data, generate recommendations, and help our customers to send bets to their operators. Why we need to do this together? Some of you may think, oh, I can do it myself. But we are also putting in 10 billion a year. I can do my own thing. Why do we need to work on this together? Because such kind of agent has a learning mechanism in which they can learn from interactions with their users. They can learn from the feedback that the users give them to their answers. So it works a little bit like liquidity, right? Remember liquidity? We combine liquidity and attract further liquidity. For the AI service agent, if we do this together, the cost to develop will be cheaper, it will be more efficient, and most importantly, a well-trained model with lots of combined customers' interaction will be much smarter than a model that is less well-trained. And that gives our fans better answers, better conviction, better information, so they can enjoy their racing with ease. This is fun. This will bring us closer to the new AI era. This will bring us closer to our new future racing fans and secure our sustainability. Thank you very much.
And now we're happy to welcome John Knapman on stage with a round of applause here in Berlin.
Thanks everyone, nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones. I didn't quite get the dress up memo, so you'll have to forgive me for the lack of attire. I want to kind of, on a similar theme to Long, is talk about how Whirlpool really works best when you serve up to what the customer in each local jurisdiction wants. I don't think it makes any sense at all for us to give the same product to every customer in every country. We're going to have to localise, and we're going to come on to what that can look like. I want you to think of this as a case study for the UK, so forgive me if it's a little UK specific, but I think it's important to illustrate the point. Long's already very eloquently and probably walking up and down more than I will, run you through the expansion of Whirlpool thus far. We can see it's expanded rapidly since 2019. Number of races have gone up and up and up. We'll continue to expand. It's a positive success story. What we can see from turnover is turnover's grown really through calendar expansion. And I'll come on to where we need to go next with Whirlpool to really fulfill its potential. We've contributed over 50 million back to the racecourses that host Whirlpool, so it's been successful in terms of the contribution to UK and Irish racing. Whirlpool's paid over £300,000 back at a grassroots level, moments of the day to stable staff, Jockey's Championship, which Long mentioned. And it's not just good for the industry from a punter perspective. Sometimes we don't talk about them very much at conferences. It beats the industry SP in the UK over half the time. The exotics beat more often than that, as you can see. But for Whirlpool to fulfill its potential from a UK perspective, being pretty selfish here, it needs a wider adoption by bettors. And for that, it needs to have a wider betting appeal. So glocalisation, an absolute butchery of the English language, but it probably does the job, and it might be a word that we remember. It really just means thinking globally but acting locally. Any global brand is going to suffer from this problem. A global brand that goes into various markets all over the world can't provide just the same product to every single customer. Someone like Netflix, they make Korean dramas, they localise their marketing campaigns. In India, they do mobile-only subscriptions at a lower price point than they would in the US or in the UK. McDonald's does the same, adapts to local customs. Quite often with pool betting, we just take one product and serve it up to every country exactly the same. In the UK betting market, the dominance of the global fixed odds leaders has meant that hundreds of millions have been spent over the years conditioning punters to a certain way of expecting how they bet on horse racing. And that's led to a kind of, at the moment, a set of non-negotiables that a UK customer expects. Price certainty, the key disadvantage of a pool versus a fixed odds market. When we survey thousands of customers, the two things that come up without doubt every time as our top two needs of why someone doesn't bet on the Tote or why they don't like pool betting, price certainty, extra places. Extra places has become a key battleground in the UK for the last 10 years. The Cesarewitch at Newmarket, 25 runner handicaps, 30 runner handicaps. We're competing with bookmakers paying 8 places and we're paying 4, at times 3. We're just not competitive. Specific price boosts. If you live and work in the UK, you can't move for a super boost. On various specific sporting events, racing, football, and what they do is they generate customer interest. They generate a fear of missing out on the boost. We are being out-packaged as totes. We're being out-innovated and out-packaged. Money-back offers are what you'd expect. Money back if you're first past the post, but it gets overturned in a steward's inquiry. Money back if you're placed. Common examples. Obviously, we'll work in wildly different markets. So I have to deal with a very different market to Long, and we'll all have to deal with different markets. Whichever market you're in, which is being attacked by fixed odds, or legally or illegally, expect this language of marketing speak to be used. So how can a Tote, and Whirlpool in particular, be translated to compete in these areas? Price certainty. The variable nature of the pool meant in the UK we had to at least try and increase a level of certainty to the punter. So we introduced Tote Guarantee in 2020, where we pay either the industry SP or the pool price, whichever is larger. We've seen that work. Online has grown 81% over the period, on course 36%, but there's many other things we can do to reduce the certainty gap in pool betting. I don't think we can just ignore the fact that in a choice of certainty or uncertainty, customers choose certainty. And whether that's faster will pay cycles, whether it's bet-by-bet protocols rather than ITSP lagged collations, whether it's SP guarantee, whether it's a bunch of other things we can do to make sure that when customers bet with the Tote, they don't feel like they don't know what's happening. I've been trying to convince a friend to bet with the Tote for a while. He's been trying it. He told me it's like watching a football game when there's VAR. You see your horse win or you score the goal and then you just kind of have to wait around a bit to see what actually happened and how much money you're going to get paid. And that, as the dopamine dies, is not what we want to be achieving. Extra places, key selling mechanic in the UK. And I think this is one where we have to think about place terms in a different way as commingled jurisdictions, as World Pool. Ultimately, we're competing with 5, 6, 7 places, and we're at 3 and 4 constantly. And the reality is we can't do ad hoc place terms. Like, we're too entwined internationally. The logistics of that are almost impossible. But actually, is it time that we looked around the world as a globally commingled force and say, actually, let's do something simpler. Let's not make a 21-year-old who's just getting into betting understand why a handicap has different place terms to a normal race. We do a very, very good job of making things complicated in a world where people want simplicity. Boosted prices. I think generally, you talk about boosting prices in the pool, gets a visceral reaction from kind of pari-mutual Puritans. I understand it. I'm kind of more of a customer Puritan myself. I think that whether we can do these sort of things or not, I think we should explore how we compete. What I'm definitely not saying is that our business plan or our model should just be to copy fixed odds markets. But there are countries in the world where the fixed odds juggernaut has already arrived and landed, and you can't turn that clock back. And what we have to do is work out what can the pool do, what is available to a pool mechanic that can work in that sort of environment. Money back second, we introduced that this year for World Pool for the first time. We saw stakes per user up 50% on those that opted in for that. We'll be running that again next year. It's just a part of actually trying to give customers what they want in a marketplace where they expect certain things. The bottom line for me in terms of pool betting, and in the UK when you're in a market that is fixed odds and pool competing, generally the UK recreational customers, the casual customer, which is the customer that we all desperately want, smart customers will find value wherever they need to find the value. Casual customers don't really care about the pool. They don't really care about fixed odds. They don't care about how a car works. They just like the car to work. They're not pool or fixed odds fanatics. I think the next generation will be even less so. What they want is a good UX. They want to be clear of when they stake, what will they return, as much as possible as we can do within a pool mechanic. And they want to get in a manner to which they've been marketed to become accustomed to. We need to make sure we're using the benefits of the pool mechanics to compete, innovate, and satisfy customer demands. It's really easy to come up with new bet types. We could come up with 20 new bet types between us right here. We're not often sure if that's what the customers actually want. So just in summary for me, and in line with Long's presentation, I think the next phase of World Pool, it's been a great success story. For the UK, it's been enormous, great returns to racing. The expanding calendar is fantastic and will continue to grow. The next phase of growth is how do we really turn it into a product that every racing punter wants to use with a localized twist so they understand the benefits of it. And with that, I think I'm handing over to Ylva.
So, John, if you like, please take a seat on the stage, because later on we can do a question and answer after the panel. And Ylva, give me a second. So welcome on stage, Ylva Svensson. She's working for ATG since 2017, working within the international team as international key account manager. In the past 6 years, she's oversees the expansion of the ATG's international business and is also working with the World WoTA Association on specific projects. Welcome in Berlin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be in this room. You know, WoTA Sport Pool project. Well, what a chance. What a fantastic chance. And then I was sitting at home and I was feeling, God, this is hard. At a moment I felt almost like, you know, a poor maid in Scotland. I am supposed to know, start the revolution and free Scotland from the UK king. Quite hard. But then I was thinking, yeah, but you also had Jeanne d'Arc. She did it, but, well, maybe I don't come with some kind of a godness-like creature. But what I will do is I will definitely, really try to help people come together to get things going. So, sports betting, we all know it's fantastic growth around the world. More and more people have access to internet, enormous amount of product development, platforms, more and more mobile users around the globe. Also, an expansion of legalized market. There are, of course, some challenges. We all know about it. We all talked about it yesterday, a lot of people here. The pressure of increased taxations, all the regulations, AML, KYC. We almost have no time, but just, forcing ourselves through the day to manage. Also sport pools. There are sport pools, huge ones. China, South Korea, Japan, Sweden. Always, many of them comes from, monopolies, very closed markets, very localized products. So, also meaning minimal innovation and new thinking. But maybe the times, they are changing. So we all talked about, betting behaviors today. And there is an argument also, that we heard from Michael Fitzsimmons, among others. The trend is that in the betting world has moved towards small, multi-leg, small stakes with big wins, which is pretty much what pari-mutuel is all about. So, we also have to ask ourselves, when we go into this, again, this WoTA sport pool project, which been going on and stopped, and now we're trying to really start it again. Is there a demand for sport pool products? I said, are the players gambling or consuming? Because if you talk about, lottery tickets, it's not really about gambling. It's more of a consuming behavior. You buy something to have the chance to win. You're not really putting any real effort into it, as you do with handicapping, horse racing, or sports betting. It's more of a consumer behavior. There has been a lack of progress and milestones in WoTA so far. Why? Well, product hesitations. There are products available, but, could be very strong locally, maybe not suitable for a global market, as John has talked about. Tech issues, cost, and also the fact, we are also in this room, we are also competitors. And in a way, we must really think about offering something that is as good or maybe even better than fixed odds. But, games of chance has always persisted. So a lottery-like sport product should definitely be interesting. Also, we have to think about this as not only like, 1x2, a win bet. A sport pool can be so much more. So, but we also need to understand, what does the customers want? The customers, they don't care who is the host. You look at the fantastic results of the lotteries with the Euro jackpots, etc. The customers don't care where the actual draw, if it's done in, Finland or if it's done in Paris. They just think they buy the lottery ticket from the trustworthy company where they are customers from. So we have to get away from this, old thinking that you should control and own everything. So, if you look at the global interest for sports, there are quite a few really global sports. Of course, you have your European football, you have basketball, but you also have like motorsport, as we talked about, where you have a very, very big dedicated fan base. Maybe not so, you know, if you look at the betting, football, especially in the Nordics, so much number one. But you also have other big sports. But I think in order to make it a global product, it must have, you know, at least some global eyeballs to the same event. This is also turns into what we discussed about the global and the local. So I think in order to make a global product, in a way, you have to set aside that the number one interest is your domestic market. Liquidity, of course, content must be global. We have the large jackpots, dividends, lottery-like jackpots, but we can also have, you know, daily pools with more easy to win. Syndicate betting, you know, bet together. That's what I mean. Why sitting eating your lunch on your own when you can join the action and bet together, have more chances to win. This has something that's for ATG been extremely successful for our horse racing, and I know that all of you also have this kind of syndicate bets. And of course, we have to, we can't, I mean, I think technically we will solve it, but it is, of course, you have to make your product ready for international commingling. And here we see how it would look if our co-chair, Mr. Keith, yes. So you woke up this morning and you placed a bet on this global football pool that the WoTA just created, and you made the big win. And since we now also have, you know, registered betting, we have bet by bet, everything is solved. So it's a personalized experience globally. So what I said, like UX, we need to adapt the product to make it a local. And I think with pool betting, you can really, really make this the product. You can follow the product in a way that you know, not really doing. You can also see how are the, I mean, if you have a pool product, you can see percentage, how people are betting, and you can do so much. So I think this is something we should definitely dive into when we're trying to achieve a global pool. All right, a little bit about, you know, trends again. US, of course, is a vibrant market since it's such a, like a growing market, where you see all these daily fantasy sports, how they are, you know, pick'ems, which is a very growing market, going into peer-to-peer, which it was a way to, you know, avoid regulation, which is actually a pari-mutuel bet. Parlays, accumulators, bet builders, etc. We all talked about it. Can we create a pool? It is pretty much a pool bet, even though in the pool you have to, of course, decide which products. It's not as open and free as a bet builder, so to speak. But I think we need to learn something from this new betting behavior when we go into this project again. So, of course, we have some significant, and we have existing products. So this is some turnover figures from 2024. We have ATG. We were able to have sports betting in 2019. We have absolutely an international ambition, but we also have competition from Svenska Spel, who has an extremely long legacy, and also do have some international cooperation as we speak. We have Veikkaus in Finland, who are preparing to international commingling for racing in South Africa. Colossus Bet, of course. I also added France de Jeu as a part of C-Turf, since they have some significant pools. At the moment, what they say to me at least, they don't have any international ambitions. They only offer it in retail environment in France. So, you know, a mixture of international ambitions and very localized, strong products, where they're, you know, I presume it is not easy to bring a very, very strong legacy product into the global market, because that will probably change that product significantly. So, what can we do? Shall we just lock the doors? Not let anyone out of this room until we come up with the best perfect bet? But then we have to ask ourselves, will that be successful? Do you think? Because even, I mean, with pari-mutuel, you can come up with fantastic bets, but who will actually sell it and who will consume it and how? So, going further in this project, these are the questions we need to answer and make up how to act going further. We also need to have studies, documentation, and you know, practices. So that's part of my role. We need commercially viable concepts. Otherwise, we will not come together when it comes to sport pools. So that's all for me. We will have time for discussions and questions later. And I am proud now to introduce Will Gordon Lennox to the stage.
Thanks, Ylva. Hey, everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the future of pari-mutuel sport and how we see that at first, what we think we can achieve, and how we plan to do it. As we've heard, sports pools aren't new. They come in many different guises, and they're certainly not just one thing. So forgive me for a few sweeping statements along the way. As Keith mentioned, it's super important to have an open dialogue with sporting bodies. These potential partners can offer huge support and really just validate the products that we're building. I think without them, a new product can so easily get lost in the noise of the general sports, you know, environment, but particularly amongst the fixed odds markets. Essentially, we'd be building them without relevance and without precedence. With the sporting bodies behind us, however, we already have committed fans, and we have a community that is fundamentally obsessed with what we're trying to sell them. So those committed fans immediately, hopefully, translate into recreational liquidity. The trade-off, unsurprisingly, is that sporting bodies want a share of revenue, and this isn't popular with operators, with distributing partners, etc. But I suggest we might be better off being part of a bigger community that already has fans and communication lines set up, rather than trying to drive our own little path without any external support. Unsurprisingly, we can look at high-margin exotic bet types to try to combat this. Higher takeout, more exotic products, particularly ones that are pioneered by some of the WoTA members here, like the V75, the Conte Plus, and the Triple Trio. They are so perfectly adapted to pool betting that we ought to learn from those. The advantage of sports pools, I think, in one way, is that we can start from scratch. It's frustrating not having any liquidity first and foremost, but we can transcend borders from day one. We can build products that appeal to a global audience without having sensitivities in certain places with, pre-existing rules or, fans that are already obsessed with a specific bet type. Sports fans love narratives. They want to be involved in the story. They want you to tell them a story and take them on the journey throughout the match and throughout the tournament. So by building jackpot-style bets, we can hopefully engage them and resonate and become a part of that sports story. Identifying the right sport should be really simple, but there is a nuance to it. Multi-outcome sports with many participants, such as NASCAR or other motor racing, golf, cricket, etc., they really are suited to pool betting products. We can build unique products that don't suit the fixed odds market so well. They might have a chokehold on sort of win-draw-win markets on football over 2.5 goals, and then sports like tennis and darts, which are pretty binary. There are only so many ways you can build sports pool products for those sports. In a world without borders, I think we need to offer something different, something unique, and we need to differentiate from fixed odds bets regardless of where we are, because of not just the legal market, but the illegal market as well. Now, we've heard a lot about Whirlpool already, and rightly so. It offers huge liquidity, great value, and of course, an immense amount of funding for racing. The big numbers that they offer, I think, really stress the significance of the events, and these guaranteed pools have become a huge talking point for me when I've been talking to sporting bodies thus far. They want to know how we plan to market their bet types when we can't guarantee a price. So by guaranteeing those pool sizes, they are immediately, they feel like they're important. If we're talking about £500,000, million, £2 million pools, they love to hear that we think those numbers are achievable. Now, this, I think, is particularly significant to do as a group. Those costs could be huge, but ideally we only have to offer one fixed pool, one guaranteed pool. We share the marketing costs, we share the potential risk, and we have the opportunity to offer something much, much bigger. Now, our relationships with partners and operators are obviously vital. Both pool, fixed odds, and hopefully lottery operators in the years to come, they are all necessary partners, and we have to make the integration piece as easy as possible. The API integration has to be seamless. We have to offer a native solution, and it has to be consistent. Talking to some fixed odds operators already about what sort of product they might like, mostly we're hearing that they don't want white labeled products. They don't want a pop-up. They want something that is native, feels like it's a part of their system, and we have to be able to help them push it along their timeline and make sure we can give it to them in good time. Fortunately, some of the work is already done. We have a huge distribution operation already, so many connections with so many partners in this room. So fortunately, we're not starting from scratch here. And as Long was talking about, we need to appeal to everybody. We can't just offer the same looking product all the time. It's boring. So here we've got some examples of what we're building for NASCAR. The driver stats, how we compare those drivers to one another, and then the onboard camera on the right. I think it's so important to become the second screen for these sports. Almost everybody younger than me watches sports with their phone out. They don't concentrate on anything for more than about 20 minutes, tops. So being able to become the second screen and engage customers throughout an event is not just valuable for us as the betting operator, but hugely valuable for the sporting body as well. NASCAR fans would not be watching the whole race on TV. They're not going to watch every lap. It'll be like Formula One. You watch the start and you watch the finish. But engaging customers throughout the race is such an important part of what we can do for them. And finally, the really exciting bit, safeguarding and regulation. I think integrity is everything for sporting bodies. They are nothing without their brands. That really is what they have. They've built the trust of their fans. And I think that's probably the major hurdle for any of them being involved in sports betting at the moment. They don't want to associate their brand directly with a betting operator. So in order to gain their trust, I think we need incredibly clear communication across borders as WoTA and a deep understanding of local regulations. So the partnerships that we form here are far more valuable than just for liquidity, but they form the backbone of pool integrity around the world. So, supported by sporting bodies, I think we have a huge opportunity to move sports pools from a niche product to a core product around the world. The opportunity is real. We need a community-driven, high-margin, fan-first betting operation where we combine creativity, infrastructure, and partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Will. It's interesting. Still young. I know a few people at the age of 14 or something, 40 seconds of attention. So 20 minutes is quite good, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, feel free to ask if you have any questions. We have a lot of power here on stage. Therefore, round of applause for each and every one of you. Thank you very much for being here. And, yeah, feel free. And are there any questions in the audience? The smokers, which we don't have, want to have a break, right? Yeah, yeah. So a few questions from my side. Ylva, it's my first WoTA forum, so I was quite surprised you had a list of existing products and pools. I would have said there are more, but they are not. So it's a long way, if you ask me, and my opinion now, it's a long way to go. And why do you think, what's the difficulties to agree and to get new products on the market worldwide?
No, I mean, it's a combination. I mean, first of all, as I mentioned when I spoke, there are competition in the room. They're not, sometimes we can't really come together because it's too much of a, ownership, and it's too much of a what is the product. I think there are plenty of products, and maybe there are not because there hasn't been really. If you look around, it's not been much of product development within sport pools.
So maybe it's time for a room?
Yes.
Close it, throw the key away, and then...
And no one leaves.
Yeah,
so sorry, smokers. No.
Yeah, maybe that helps. We listened carefully what Will said, what you said about customers and how they are also worldwide very different. So what can we do to get a base where we say, well, yes, that's a customer in Germany, in Hong Kong, in UK, in Ireland, in US, wherever you want to go, that they have all in common. Is that possible to say?
Yeah, I would.
I think it works, yeah.
No, I would think so, because when we talk about data, it's not the same as UX. Data is in the back, where what you provide. But once you have the data, it will be the local operator, like what John said, to repackage it into the local flavor, so customer can easily understand in the format they're used to. We are not trying to change the world. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. Hong Kong Jockey Club has a very unique way to display our race card, our form. So does the UK Tote and other operators. In order to change that, good luck. We all used to something, right? But otherwise, is how we leverage on additional information, but not changing the way that the customer used to go from here. Yeah.
I see. And John, yeah, you talked a little bit about making the World Pool even more exciting for the customers UK and Ireland. So it's not just the idea of, hey, we've got a big pool, which is interesting, with maybe a guaranteed amount of money. So you have also do in between a little bit on top to make it interesting for each and every one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality of casual bettors, and the UK is specifically a very win-dominated market, and that's formed over a long period of time. That comes from TV coverage, from whatever you name it. We talk about win betting. We don't often talk about exotics. That's something we'd love to change, but that's a long process. You do need to make it more exciting for punters. A casual punter, whether a pool's £500,000 or £1 million, if you're betting £10, doesn't really make any difference. So I do think it's about. To Long's point, it's all about packaging. Whether it's the data, you have a core set of data and you repackage it for each different market. You have a core pool and you repackage it for each different market. Obviously, there's certain things that are sacrosanct within the pool, but that shouldn't mean you don't give it a localized flavor that appeals to the marketplace. Otherwise we're just kind of telling people it should be good without them actually feeling it.
I see. So once again, back to the headline, which is act local but think global, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. And well, just to finish this round, you said, well, we have to identify the sports which will work worldwide. Just name the 5 main sports. What do you say they will work? And Ylva takes the key for the room, we throw it away, and after 3 days, we have a solution. So, come on.
Easy. I think there are 2 ways of looking at this, and I know John and I disagree on this one. I would be in favor of trying to focus on sports that lend themselves best to pool betting, like NASCAR, Formula 1, MotoGP, some golf. I would love to see cricket take a leading role in WoTA and in pool betting more globally. I know there are various complications there with regulations getting even tighter recently, but I know John is more in favor of picking on sports that have that global fan base and just trying to take a chunk. Let's try both and see which one works.
We used to agree a lot more when we worked together. Since Keith stole him away, now we disagree a lot about things.
Okay, John, we will listen to you in a few seconds. Ylva already showed us on the screen how the interest is worldwide for the sport. So what would you say will work? Will is on cricket because he plays cricket. That's the reason why. So, yeah.
I definitely don't play cricket, so I'm not on cricket. For me, I can see Will's point, and I kind of, if you can work with the operator and that sport has enough of an interest that the operator can deliver you to the customers, I think that's fine. Generally, my view of most things is you kind of need to go where the people are already. I think the marketing expense of driving a new bet type in a new sport is prohibitive at times. And so I think for me, global sports where many sports call themselves global, but they're not particularly global. Racing isn't really a global sport. Racing is a local sport that happens globally. The reality is a UK punter would rather bet 2 o'clock at Fakenham than a Group 1 in Japan. That's the reality of the habit formed of UK punters. I think you've got certain sports where when it happens, the whole world watches an event. So for me, Formula 1 would come into it. The demographic of Formula 1 versus betting, not sure. But for me, NBA, Premier League, Champions League, NFL are probably where I'd start.
Okay, so we have a lot of time now to discuss all these topics because everybody's invited to have a personal discussion with you guys. And Ylva, you look like you wanted to say one more thing, right?
Yeah, I want to say so much, but we have too little time. But I think we should definitely continue. No, but also, I mean, what I mentioned, and we discussed it in this group yesterday, is, I mean, if you look at some of us in the room, we have some companies, operators, have a lot of customers, but some has very few. So in order to have a global bet on football made for WoTA, we have to discuss where to actually, distribute it. If we don't get like Premier League signing on to it, giving, as you said, 20% to grassroots football or something, and Premier League would help us to promote it, maybe we need to go with global like bookmakers in order to get that kind of liquidity, because it is hard to build liquidity for a new product.
Thank you very much for now. And the good news for everyone, we have a break of 15 minutes. Please be aware that we are looking forward to welcome you tomorrow, as we heard already from Gerhard Schöning on the beautiful racetrack of Hoppegarten. And there will be, I just wanted to announce it, a sweeps game by 6 faces for the races 2 until 7. And the papers will be handed out tomorrow while you arrive in Hoppegarten. And for now, I say thank you very much for you all here on stage, and enjoy your break 50 minutes from now, and we'll see us here. Thank you.